Well, Turning Point USA is finally dropping some receipts. Kind of, not really, but it's more than we've received thus far, which is nothing. So it's something, and it's not at all what we were asking for. But again, I want to be optimistic, so at least it's something. First up, many of you guys pinged me regarding Brian Harpole, an interview that he did with Sean Ryan. Now, Brian Harpole is one of Charlie Kirk's long-term security members, team members. And on the day of the assassination, you'll recognize he's the guy that had the black strap. I don't know if we have a photo. He had a bag across him, and he was standing to the front right of Charlie, kind of looking out at the audience. You're going to see him in a second. He is the one who then runs over to Charlie. And again, you recognize him because he kind of has that small, supposed to be a medical bag over him. Now, I have not watched this interview in its entirety, but from what I have seen thus far, it is just not that convincing. For one, Brian offers up that the lack of security on the rooftop can actually be attributed to the UVU police chief, Jeff Long. Here is what he had to say.
On Monday before, this correspondence went to Chief Long. Hello, Chief Long. We received this message today from the student group. There is a student roof access pretty close to where CK will be set up at the Utah Valley. The Sorensen Center has a couple of staircases that go up to walkways on the roofs. He comes back, and for edification, the Sorensen Center was the building in front of the Lucy Center. And so he comes back and he says, you want access to the roof. And came back and said, I was told students have access above us. If this is true, it would be nice to either have it controlled access or allow one of my guys to be there as well, if possible. He comes back, and his last correspondence was, I got you covered. What else am I to do? When a command level person from an accredited police department says, I've got this area. Jeez.
Please pick me. Okay. When you're like in school and you got to hold your hand up because you really want a teacher to see you. I have an answer for what else you could have done. You could have followed up because it's your job and Charlie paid you millions of dollars not to pass the buck. No. Also, you asked the police chief an either or question. And I'm just kind of like trying to understand the basic construct of sentences. He said, got you covered. What does that mean? It was an either or question. Either provide us access or get somebody up there. Got you covered means what? No follow-up? That's it? Millions and millions of dollars on his security annually. And you just said, hey, a student told us that there's a rooftop and it would be good if we could have access to it, or if one of your guys could secure, got you covered. That's it. That's what Charlie was paying for. That's obviously absurd. That is not an answer that should be accepted by anyone. I am not blown away by that. I'm not going, oh, this is UVU's fault. Okay. By the way, Jeff Long also has a very extensive military career. I obviously have been very clear that I believe that this was a military level assassination. Everyone on the ground that day, every witness for some reason, this is not a military academy, but everybody that we can speak to that's somehow involved has an extensive military background. I'm not interested in Jeff Long's participation in this, but Brian Harpole sort of laments the fact that he won't speak up and people are losing their jobs. On the basis of that answer, you should all be fired. Just on the basis of that answer, you didn't have it within you to go, let me follow up and make sure that's been secured because that's my job. Let me walk the path and see. The fact that a student told you and you didn't know that, shouldn't you have told the student? You shouldn't you have said to the student, hey, we're looking at a map because it's amazing. It's 2025 and there's this thing called Google Maps. So we're actually looking at a map and we see where Charlie's going to sit and we're wondering about this roof. Could you let us know how we're supposed to access that? Why is the student and the chief leading the charge and not you when you are paid for executive level security? It is an unacceptable answer. Look, I've worked with Brian. Nice guy. That's a ridiculous answer. He should be fired. And I'm going to guess he's not going to be, but he should be fired. Of course, he should be fired. Elsewhere in the interview, he responds to the question of why they didn't at least have drone coverage on that day, since they have flown drones, many drones, at TPUSA events in the past. Here's his answer to that.
In your coordination with UVU, I mean, did they offer any assistance, anything at all?
Yeah,
Did you ask them of anything?
absolutely. So we come in and we start looking at things immediately, like, man, where are our risks? You know, what's our risk assessment when we come in? That's why we get there. That's why we start doing the advance so early. We walk it, you know, we build it ourselves. And so initially, I spent thousands of dollars on drones last year and got the guy's license. But if the area lies in the Provo, Utah airspace, I can't fly it. That's a 107B. We can't break the rules, right? And then you had secondary restrictions, probably due to heavy foot traffic for the school. But I can't go in and break the rules. There's laws for a reason. And so now the school could have flown drones, the PD, but they didn't have them, right? But Orem PD has a drone unit, active and professional, and that police department, I will tell you right now, is awesome. They get it. They were there. They helped both on the soft side and the hard side. And so I started asking questions like, "You guys have a drone unit?" Yeah. Good. Do you have an MOU or a mutual aid agreement with the school? And they're like, "Yeah." I said, "Did they call you and ask for assistance?" No. I'm like, why wouldn't you call?
Well, I think that's your job. Like, am I crazy? Or is that his job? Is it his job to call and to see things through if Charlie's paying him for executive level security? Like,
this is weird, isn't it? It is so weird, right? Because one would think that the reason why you pay for security is because you want them to protect you. It's because you cannot do everything as far as security is concerned by yourself. And you are relying on those people whom you've paid to take care or handle the security situation on your behalf, isn't it? So, if someone did not do their job, should they be blaming others or blaming themselves? And like Candice said, that and in which I totally agree, that guy should be fired. If there was this huge security failure, that guy has to go. He has to go. He was supposed to be the one scouting out the whole place, mapping out all the dangerous points, and making sure that security people are being put on every single place that might be of any risk to CK, as he calls him. That is his whole job, isn't it? You see this in my home country like a lot. You see people who are supposed to do a job come out and complain of the difficulties they encountered in doing their job and the reason why they failed miserably in doing their job. And my question has always been that, isn't that your job? Isn't that something you said you could do? Should we appreciate you for not being able to do your job? What has all these flimsy excuses have to do with anything? You said you could do a job. You were hired because you said you could do the job. You were paid because you said you could do the job. So do your job. It is as simple as that. There was this politician back in the days. He is of late now. He had passed away. After he passed away, a video surfaced where he was granted an interview and how he was complaining about not being able to do the things he wanted to do because his leader wouldn't let him do. I wanted to do this, but the head of state said no. He was, I think, the prime minister or maybe the vice president under another president. And he was complaining in that video. I wanted to do this, the head of state said no. I wanted to do this, the head of state said no. Everything was the head of state said no. And my question to that video, and I was commenting on the video, my question was that you were the vice president or maybe the prime minister. When the head of state said no to everything you wanted to do, what did you do? What did you do? And by the way, you were elected or appointed to that position because you could do the job, or people thought you could do the job, or you presented yourself as someone who was capable of doing the job. That was the main reason you were given that position. If people knew that you couldn't get the job done, they wouldn't have given you the job. If people knew that you were no better from an ordinary Joe at the end of the street, they would not have given you the job. Same goes to this guy here complaining about the failure with security on the day Charlie was assassinated. I don't know if there are legal cause for actions like this. If there is one, I think this guy should be sued for not doing their job as they should have done it. I hope a day comes when they are sued for it. As a head of security or as someone in charge of security, it was your job to make sure that the whole location was secured. You had to be there in person to supervise security. Or if not in person, you had to coordinate with those in charge to make sure that all the areas that were supposed to be manned by security personnel were actually being manned. You had to make sure that everything about security was kept under control and was in proper order. Remember, CK has complained that he was getting a lot of threat recently, that the number of people sending threat to him have increased. And it was only right for him to increase his security. So it was your job as the security officials to make sure that there were actually security men on those locations that were deemed a security threat to Charlie. Let me ask this question, and I think Dr. Carlson also made mention of this. What has become of the Butler situation? Was it just a lone disgruntled or mentally unstable individual who wanted to harm the president, or were there others involved? How is the whole thing going? And also about Charlie. How is it all going? Can someone say something about it? Or maybe we won't even get to know what happened, isn't it?